Empire. Vegas is becoming an exporting technology.
More and more, they're trying to bring more effects in, more fan engagement, more fan interaction. And I think we're in the early stages of it. I think that's a lot of what SEIcon is about, is the overall experience in the building, the hospitality, technology, AI.
That's Shawn Garrity, CEO of Circle, who is leading an event that brings together legacy sports media and modern technology. This is the Future Sport Podcast. I'm Bram. Las Vegas was shut out of having professional sports for decades due to concerns about gambling. Had the realization that Vegas could be an epicenter of modern sports engagement and technology been a forethought, the concerns about betting might have been a less deciding factor a long time ago. Our guest this week is Shawn Garrity. He is the CEO of Circle, a Las Vegas-based omni-channel guest experience agency, and he's instrumental in bringing in a partnership with the David Falk College of Sport and Human Dynamics at UNLV to launch SEIcon, a sports and entertainment innovation conference coming to Vegas this July. Hi, Shawn. How are you? Thanks for joining us.
I'm doing great and honored to be with you. Thank you very much for having me.
We'll talk about the conference in a moment, but let's talk about your company, Circle, first. It is
Sure.
what? What do you do?
Well, thank you for asking. Yeah, Circle is an omni-channel guest experience agency. I know that's a lot of words. And as you look at today's world, brands and media companies and entertainment companies are looking at ways to holistically reach their guests, whether it's through social, through live entertainment, broadcast, and throughout on a 365-day perspective. So we work very closely with our clients on outward-facing engagements. We work with clients like the Sphere. Worked for years with MGM on their outdoor festivals, do a lot of tours with spirit brands like Espolòn Tequila, going to Governor's Ball, going to Coachella. We just did a very exciting activation with Piper Heidsieck Champagne at F1. So we really focus on fully immersive experiences to touch guests, understand their needs, and engage and entertain and monetize those experiences in ways that may have been very challenging to do in a less tech-centric environment.
Okay, so when you say fully immersive, what do you mean by that?
Well, as you think about coming up to a stadium and all of a sudden your geolocation goes off and you're getting prompts, the stadium and the organization know you're there. And presumably as they're harvesting their data and relationship with you, they're saying you want to go to this activation where there's music and there's food and there are beverages. So they'll prompt you to go there. As you go in, you want to buy merch. Instead of carrying around shirts and doing different things, you can engage that through your app. You can buy your merch, and then it can be fulfilled to your home instead of carrying a bag around now, committed for the next several hours. It's also curating a more tailored culinary experience. It's not a hot dog and a beer anymore. It's really a more personalized, a more highly evolved experience from start to finish.
I think what you're talking about, and we talk to a lot of founders and a lot of companies in a lot of walks of life in sports and technology that talk about a more educated fan and a fan that expects more out of the experiences they get. It sounds like that's what you're touching on here too.
Yeah, I think it's instead of a push through, it's a pull through. You're right. The guest ultimately votes for their wallet. And at the end of the day, if you're not going to tailor and serve their needs and requirements, they're not going to come back, and they're going to be very vocal about that disappointment. So, and I think that's the ultimate audit and power. The fans should be in charge. And I think it is great that they have that type of ability to say what they want, express it, but also express their disappointment if those needs aren't being met.
Let me get off topic just for a moment, because you mentioned the Sphere, and that is maybe the most unique entertainment environment in the country right now.
Yeah.
Can you talk about what you're doing with them and what that venue may be, I don't know, portending to in the marketplace in other areas around the country in the future?
No, I think that's really the big question. I think for a lot of people outside of being this amazing structure with this multimedia canvas, a lot of people don't really understand what happens inside, what the bigger business goal is and the vision. We've had the privilege to work with them prior to opening, doing things like sales structures, sales environments where they can bring in their VIP prospects to look at suites and bigger packages, corporate packages. So our role with them is more focused on their black carpet structures, helping them to create some of those experiences. We did a great project for them for their postcards with 10-foot diameter geodesic domes that were placed throughout the sphere that are very dynamic. But we've also been working with them on some of their corporate initiatives as they bring in clients like Snapchat. The NHL draft, as you may know, is coming. That's very exciting. I've had the opportunity to do some initial work in some areas that they're going to be focusing on there as well. But I think the big thing that you look at from a business model that people kind of understand, it costs a lot of money to program on the exterior of that sphere. And there's been a lot of that happening around trade shows and large-scale events. Inside, they've got their mainstay programming, whether it's U2 or some of the new fish coming in now. They have their concert programming, but their postcard event is also generating great revenue throughout the week as daytime programming. So I think they're getting some great awareness out there, and I think their model is maturing, and I think people are understanding the value of the prices they command to do the high impact branding they're doing there.
This thing feels like a Taj Mahal of a viewing experience. Do you think it will be replicated around the country, or is this a one-off and part of the Vegas infrastructure?
Yeah, obviously don't speak for their ultimate visions, but I know they do envision this as an experience that can be located in other high profile and appropriate markets. It certainly is not something that's rolling out, would be my guess, but I think the world will be fortunate to have more of these experiences in other places over time. At least that would be my hope for them.
Okay. Let me ask you then, let's circle back to the idea of immersive experiences and what, and in this case, sports fans really want it. The entertainment fans want it too, but sports fans want. Do you think the immersive experience is the future and how teams and leagues and venues have to think about catering to sports fans of the future?
Absolutely. And I think as you look across all sports, and I think what sports even are is changing dynamically as you look at next generation sports development. I think about the phenomena of pickleball. You talk about, there's so many more sports coming out where fans are the athletes and it's about them. So you think about fully empowered basketball courts now with LED technology. More and more, they're trying to bring more effects in, more fan engagement, more fan interaction. And I think we're in the early stages of it. I think that's a lot of what SEIcon is about, is the overall experience from the building, the hospitality, technology, AI, health sciences, and just everything that comes into the mix.
Okay, so let's talk about the conference that you have coming up in July. You've touched on it there. What was the genesis of this, and what are you trying to give to fans and people in the industry by holding this event?
Yeah, thank you for the question. I've been on the board at Syracuse University with the Fall College of Sport for 15 years, and a lot of what we focus on from our faculty, our students, and with the industry at large is educating the next generation of experts in everything we just discussed. Living in Las Vegas for quite some time now, become very friendly with the folks at UNLV, number one in gaming and hospitality in the world. Syracuse University, obviously number one in broadcast journalism in the world, and our sport programs and other programs highly esteemed as well. We saw an opportunity with everything happening in Las Vegas, and we call it the greatest decade ever. When you think of everything that has transpired from hospitality, stadiums, new teams, leagues, expansions, no city has experienced what this city has done for the last decade. Resorts World, Fontainebleau, 2 million more square feet of convention space, F1. It's really been endless. We saw the opportunity to bring together our two universities, for Syracuse University, private upstate New York, and UNLV, one of the largest, fastest growing, and most diverse universities, bring public and private universities together, focus on Las Vegas and the growing landscape and the requirements that the city requires, and partner and help our universities to strengthen our programs, empower our students to get more on-the-job experience, put depth into our faculties, and help and enhance the experience for the sport. So that's where SEIcon.
So it sounds like what you see in Las Vegas is, and again, I'll go back to, is this place a one-off that can be replicated in other places, or is Las Vegas the perfect ground for this level of innovation? You see Las Vegas as the future of sports, that what is happening in and around the city with teams coming in, the way they present sports, et cetera, as the future of big-time sports in America?
Yeah, I think it's a model that will be replicated in other areas. You look at Europe as an example. You talk about large-scale sports and fan support. It's unparalleled. But from an innovation standpoint, I think the innovation is not as receptive or as prevalent as it would be in the U.S. So I think being able to bring the innovation and the collaboration to Europe with all the great things happening there is something we absolutely envision. You look at the Middle East, where there's a lot of social change and improvement happening through sports and entertainment as a vehicle. I think that's one of the only ways that might happen the way we would hope. We want to support that. We have markets across the country where we're doing 100, 200 person vertical events, very focused. But to your question, Las Vegas is the big city for us. It's here. We love that NBA Summer League's happening at the same time. So a lot of the industry now for mid-July is here, which is very uncommon given the heat and the usual barriers of Las Vegas in that time frame. But we do see Las Vegas always being our largest scale event. And then we see more micro media, broadcast, law, and philanthropy events in other markets across the U.S. and overseas.
Okay, so we also have this merge of hospitality and innovation and gaming that is Las Vegas. And of course, Syracuse, which is, still maybe the best broadcasting program in the world, or at least in the United States for sure.
Perhaps, yeah.
Why do you want to bring them together? What can they learn from one another?
Well, you look at what Syracuse University wants to do. They're in upstate New York, not far from Canada, and they're a mid-sized private university. And that's a little bit of a geographic challenge when you think about the opportunities and where they exist. You'd think Syracuse would support the New York Metro and LA, but for all this time, Las Vegas, as you've observed, has just been growing and growing to really be an epicenter. Though Syracuse has some great leaders here, Chris Soteropoulos runs Allegiant Stadium. Peter Dropic was just announced to oversee the UFC WWE entity with TKO. Winston Fisher is a trustee and founder of Area 15, which is an amazing AR concept that's expanding across the globe. We have a footprint here, but it's not what it should be. And as you look at it for UNLV, as amazing as they are in their programs in gaming and hospitality, their sports innovation program has been doing amazing work and growing quickly. But this really gives them an accelerator with us bridging together. So it's unusual, and we're very proud of it. The universities really love one another. We trust one another. And we really are already doing some amazing things in testing and performance with PGA and a wide variety of other collaborations. So it really came together organically in a strong way.
Okay, let's talk about those two programs separately for a moment. In the sports and innovation space with UNLV, what are they doing that you see that is forward-thinking that could be incorporated by teams and leagues throughout the country?
Well, it might not be exactly the start that you'd expect, but what's been great about it, UNLV has one of the highest percentages of first-generation students in the country. And as you have programs like the Super Bowl that just came here, they use a wide array of volunteers and students. And traditionally, that's been an uncompensated position. And UNLV and the NFL were able to effectively negotiate that as first-gen students, they couldn't afford to be going to school and doing something like this as a volunteer without compensation. So the NFL generously created compensation programs for their students, and hundreds of their students got the experience through that program. They get the same benefits with the Raiders, the Golden Knights, with F1. So I think what's been allowing them to accelerate is all of the natural internships and on-the-job experience their people have been getting. We just hired one of their recent graduates, Saul Escalante, and he is amazingly experienced and mature. And I think it's all the hands-on experience they get with everything that happens here. But specifically in their PGA program, which is, I think, the top program in the country, they've got a performance lab where they've been creating unbelievable performance data and information. And now Syracuse's statistics analytics programs is working with them to take that data and actualize that data into reports, into studies, and into findings. And they're doing that together. And again, it's a world-class endeavor they're working on right now.
Future Sport is a presentation of Empire Media, a B2B and B2C podcast and digital company dedicated to making your business or brand be heard. Internal or external content creation that will have a lasting impact on your strategy, consulting, creation, and production, all to help you effectively communicate your message in any marketplace. Learn more at ampiremedia.com, AMPIRE media.com. Let's continue our conversation with Shawn Garrity, the CEO of Circle. All right, let me focus back in on Syracuse University. As a middle-aged broadcaster, all right, so I know what their specialty is. We're talking about a new way of communicating in a very different fractured landscape of communication. How do you see a partnership with innovators in a place like Las Vegas as they think about how mass communication is going to be done in the sports world?
Yeah. Well, first of all, you're rocking that Red Hot Chili Peppers t-shirt, so I don't know about this middle-aged thing, but you're owning that.
I'm trying, Shawn. I'm trying.
Good job, my friend. One of the topics we have at SEIcon is the journalist redefined. And as you know, we have top speakers and thought leaders. We have the CEO of the New York Post. We got some amazing leadership from Gannett, USA Today. We've got people from FinTech TV coming to be present. There's going to be a lot of broadcast media and a lot of journalism at the event. But the journalist redefined visits. What is a journalist? It's even the definition of a journalist. And as I've been in some of these conversations, I pick up my phone and I say, well, I am. You are too. Everybody's a journalist. It's simply how you use your medium and what platforms you choose. And I think more and more are coming, as you know. I think it's an amazing era where anybody that has a voice that decides that they want to distribute that content, the audience, if they love it, they will respond. So I think that we're at the beginning of a very exciting phase that these younger generations growing up, and it's catching up to we middle-aged enough individuals like me. We're understanding we have a voice and how to use it. Now it's just a matter of how do you curate that content, how do you distribute it, and what kind of an audience do you want to attract, and then also aspire to maintain.
Let me talk to you about that for a moment. The word journalist means maybe something differently to me than maybe it does to you at this point in time. Yeah. I agree. Everybody has, the gates are open for anyone to have a platform if they want it. They can potentially build their own audience here for sure, right? But the word journalist to me means vetted sourcing. Editors look at, you put out something that you are fairly certain is the truth. And right. I think we have some blurred lines when we talk about the word journalist in this day and age of open sourced medium and sports content.
Well, you know what? You sound pretty credible to me. Therefore, you're going to be a journalist. You're going to be a journalist for me. But as you know, it's how the other end sees the content. It's not what the person pushing the content aspires to be. You may be opinion, but if the person listening to you deems you as an expert, they're going to make that fact. And there is that fine line between a broadcaster of opinion and content and a journalist disseminating what is assessed, rechecked, approved, vetted, and released. I don't think that standard is so well maintained today. And I think there's so many sources that I don't know where that line exists anymore. I don't know if it's blurred. I think it's just gray.
Or it doesn't exist any longer. It's possible that we, in the world of YouTube and podcasts and open sourcing, where anybody can have their opinions, specifically on something as mainlined as sports, I don't know that word exists. And I'd love to talk to maybe the dean at Syracuse to get his feelings on what does the word journalist mean these days.
Yeah, well, and I think the challenge is you think about it from a business perspective. If you think about someone like Gannett or the Post or any media company, News Corp, what have you, CNN, it's how do you convey content? How do you retain your audience? But most importantly, then how do you monetize that? And if you're going to empower a wider array of social sharing and commentary, then how do you monetize that? But then how do you share the revenue from those outcomes? So I think to your point, we're early in the game. People are becoming more and more savvy. There are a lot of models now to monetize your content, but I think for bigger media and wider platforms, I think they're trying to catch up. And there's a challenge, an opportunity, but there's a challenge there too.
All right, last thing, I assume that the conference is open to the public if people want to come and take part in it. What is the takeaway that you hope visitors get out of the conference this July?
Yeah, I think as you look at it, there's a lot of opportunities to go to conferences, go to events, and I think for people looking at their discretionary money or their investment of money for their improvement, you have to choose wisely. And we've worked very hard with this conference to make this. First of all, we have one of the largest thought leader expert gatherings in history in our industry in sports entertainment innovation. We have over 125 speakers. We have 42 sessions and keynotes. but we've also scheduled a lot of interactive and open time. We don't aspire to have 100,000 people at our event. Our event is in the low thousands, but it's very targeted and curated to industry professionals, educators, and people in the industry aspiring to grow. So what we say, if you're coming here, you better be okay to say, I'm hiring or I want a job. I want to invest or I need an investment. I want to sell a company. I want to buy a company, or I've come here to meet other people and do business together. We want this to be a productive conference. If you leave saying, I think it was good, it wasn't. If you leave saying, man, that was great for me, here's what I did and here's what happened. We do have an app that all of our attendees get 3 weeks out where they see who everybody is. They have direct outreach. We have a calendar app where they can schedule their meetings before they ever arrive. We tell people straight out, if you're coming and you didn't get results, don't come back. We wasted your time. So we want to work very hard to make sure we curate a great experience, and we're pretty well going to talk to every person who comes that registers. So that's what we're working very hard to do. So we know what everybody wants, and we can match and pair people, in a qualitative and credible way.
Shawn Garrity is the CEO of Circle, and he's part of the group that has launched SEIcon, SEIcon, which will occur in July in Las Vegas. Thank you so much for joining us, Shawn.
Thanks, Brian. Do you mind if I give it a quick plug on the website?
Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you. It's www.sei-con.org, and we'll be streaming and broadcasting quite a few of the sessions as well. So we're welcoming people, and it's the start of something we hope will be going on for quite some time, and I appreciate the time you've given me.
On the next Future Sport podcast, teams are finding new and improved ways of engagement.
Going to be continued innovation as these leagues continue to pop up. I think it just is a reflection of consumer demand. I think people love sports. They love consuming different types of sports. They love the opportunity for sports to be more accessible. I think pickleball is a great example. It got so many people out and about, and it engaged a very wide demographic of fans.
That's Vaidi Murthy, CEO of WIT, who helps teams across the sporting spectrum find ways to engage their fan bases in modern ways. That will do it for this episode. As always, the future is now. This is the Future Sport Podcast. I'm Bram Weinstein.